Look, clothing brands are undoubtedly the easiest way for beginners to scale their dropshipping store, but everybody's overcomplicating it by telling you to sell these crazy problem solving products, which require you to understand a heavy understanding of marketing. And so, in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the 3-step process of how I actually go about building these clothing brands that can generate me like 420K in just 2 months. Step one, I'll find the product with you completely live. So it's actually finding the right product, the desire-based product. And then step two is how to actually use AI effectively enough to convert customers. People are using this in the worst way possible, and it doesn't look real, and the strategy is impossible if you don't know how to use this properly. And then step three is simply scaling. So how do I take a product that's got good ROAS and actually be able to scale it to big numbers? Because all you need is a good product, you need good AI creatives, and then all you need to do is press a few buttons. But it's the same math that I use in order to scale this exact brand here. Now, what do most people tell you to do? They tell you to go to Calidata and they tell you to rip products, or they tell you to make long form ads, whatever it is, which are basically just methods that isn't going to allow you to make consistent money month after month. Because what you'll find is that you'll hit a plateau. You won't know how to take these, supplements from Calidata that you've just ripped the content for, and then turn that make your own content from the data that you have, and make your own creatives which are going to be able to unlock scale. It's going to be very hard for you to find your own creatives because you simply don't know how to market. You haven't learned any of the skills yet, which is why I built my entire program around starting with these desire-based products. And then once you understand that fully and the marketing behind it, you can start another brand in the supplement space or whatever it is you want to do there. But in the program, it's outlined very detailed how you can take one of these products and make good creators for it. But like I said, you need to learn marketing. Now, in order to find my product, I'm going to simply go over to the Facebook ads library where every single ad is already there. Every ad that is run by an e-commerce store is there. Every dropshipper, whoever it is running ads on there if they're running meta ads. And so I'm going to find my products using this tool that's available to me, which I'll show you in a second. You can also use something like Instagram. Now, if you just act as if you are a consumer on Instagram and you add products to your cart, you act to Meta that you're already a consumer. You're going to get targeted all these different products, especially if you're niche specific. And that is how you can find these clothing brands popping up left, right, and center from other dropshippers. And each product that you find, you can simply test within your clothing brand. Now, before we go into the product research method, let me just be clear that you are not just pump and dumping. And we're going to get into that in a second as well. This is not a simple, I'm going to find a product and I'm going to test it, I'm going to make money, and I'm going to test another product, going to make money. That is just not going to work. You might as well be Calidata ripping and just doing that, because this is still a long-term brand with repeat customers. And you see, most people who are starting these clothing brands, they do not keep it consistent. They don't keep it going. And so the difference here is that you'll keep it going and turn this into a longevity brand. Now, I've come to the Facebook ads library and I want to test shoes because my niche store is selling shoes. And so I found this simple brand. Now, the important thing to note is that you can literally sell any product that you want, any product in clothing, in jewelry. If you can quickly identify what the product is with a quick glance, I can instantly see this is a sandal and these people are selling sandals, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to make money with, instead of having to go to the problem solving route where if they just showed a picture of the supplement, I wouldn't quite know what that product is and I probably wouldn't be sold on it. Whereas if I like this sandal, I'm going to buy it based on the image. That's why it's a lot easier. So this brand in particular, say I want to replicate this brand because I like what they're doing here, because they have a problem solving mechanism behind it. And so they have the whole sciencey part around it and how it's better for the actual shoe. So I would use this in my own marketing too, but I'll just go a bit more ham on the advertising and the testing of the products. All right, so that one was for an Indian store. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to filter it. You can filter it to anywhere, but I'm just going to do the UK and then scroll through and try and find something that looks like they could be drop shipping. And that's, you're going to be able to tell pretty quickly. Like this one, for example, you can tell that this is a drop shipper. And let's see. I've also got it filtered on impressions high to low, which is really good. So I can see actually if these guys are scaling, which they are at the top here. I'm I'll do a quick search and I can't actually find the product from a Chinese supplier. So that tells me that it's a brand. And so I'll just keep moving on and try and find the next one. So this is an interesting niche, which I could potentially go after. It's Foot Relief Journal. They have an interesting funnel. They've got a whole listicle going on, but that's not the point that I'd be starting on here. It would be more testing their best sellers. So I would find this, look into the best sellers and potentially test the ones that are selling the best on their shop. So I could go see the best sellers here. So this is like the best seller because it's the top ad in the ads library as well. And then I might just stay in this niche. You know, I could test these different products, see how they perform, check their ads library, test the other products that they have in there, and also test around with some other creatives based on their current winners too. And that's just going to give me a head start because I'll be able to see that momentum very quickly. And it's a desire-based product, so I don't need to explain. I don't need to make that listicle that person made. They're just doing that to increase their conversion rate, but I don't need to do that to explain to the customer why this is going to help them. I know it's slightly problem solving, but you can see by the actual look and the design that it's a nice design. And I can just say a few things like plantar fasciitis, test it out, and that is going to resonate with the customer. And I could get those sales very quickly. And now that brings me on to my second point, which is because we are doing this desire-based testing, we can test very simple static ads, which are just photo ads in order to be able to scale this product. So when we're launching our ads, we can do this very, very simply after you've set up the website and got the offer up, whatever it is. So what I would do in this situation is I would find this specific brand, Feet Relief Journal. This is going to likely just be a Facebook page where they're running ads to. And so I could also try and find their actual brand, which is Author Balance. So I can just duplicate this. So yeah, there's only 5 results on this one. So I'll get this up, Author Balance. I also have it set to just the UK. So I'm going to change that to all because I'm likely going to get more results from their ads library. Let's change that. So now that I've got their ads library, I would simply just look at these creatives here. They've done simple split tests, but I would just create lots of static ads around this specific product. And you can do that using AI, and you can test the product on a plain white background. You can test the product on an actual person, and it is super simple to do. So I'll just generate that. And so now that I have this product, which I can potentially test, like I said, all I got to do is make simple image ads. I can do this with Nano Banana Pro. And then I can also turn these into videos if I want with something like Kling 3.0. These are the 2 AI tools that I use primarily in order to make my ads. These are for the photos. And then you can also make videos with this if you want to just test a little bit further. Like I just cooked this up really quickly. And, you know, once you know the prompts, you can just save the prompts and keep using them over and over again. That is just a strategy that I recommend you do. Play around with the AI tools and you'll know what to do eventually in terms of prompting. Very simple stuff. And this is the actual photo that I've come up with. So I just thought, okay, what does my dream outcome, like avatar, well, what do they want to experience? Well, they want to be on a mountain. They want to be able to climb a mountain because their problem is that they have plantar fasciitis, they have problems with their feet, they have problems with their knees, and this trainer essentially helps them overcome that to to climb mountains. And it's a beautiful moment. It's in the sunset, and so it feels very empowering for people. I also just added a little sort of hiking stick there just to make it look like he hiked up it as well, and he looks slightly older too. But yeah, essentially the trainer is in the shot, and that's the most important thing. And then in this ad, I might test this by itself. I might test other things successful for the competitor. So a very simple ad that I've just made here. I've just literally made it on my Miro board. So I'd usually use something like Canva in order to make these ads. This is the go-to tool in order to make these static ads. But that is essentially what I would do. And like I said, you can also turn this into a Kling 0.30 video. He could just be walking off into the sunset, hopefully not off the cliff. But I could be testing these products every single day. And most people think that you have to wait a long time just testing one singular product to decide whether or not it's a winner or loser. We follow very, very simple rules in the program. And I'm going to show you that in a second as well of how we scale it. And if you follow very simple rules, you know when to just move on to the next product. With desire-based products, this is very simple because we know if the product isn't appealing to people and they see it and they don't instantly resonate with it and don't instantly buy it, then we can just move on to the next one. But the ones with the best data, we can of course stick to those products and make sure that we test enough in order to see if it is a real winner. But what we're trying to find is this a winner? And if it is, and if we can turn this into a potential brand, then we're going to do that. Now, my final point is when you find that potential product, which you can turn into a brand that makes you a lot of money consistently month after month, what do you do and how do you actually get to the point of making this money? Well, it's very simple. You just scale the advertising. This is why I love e-com so much, because as soon as you find something that works, all you need to do is scale it. And that's exactly what I did with my first clothing brand. I just found what worked. And then within 2 weeks of testing that, I scaled to £5,000 in a single day, simply because I followed the data. I literally said, right, the data is saying this, that means I'm going to increase the budget. As simple as that. It didn't matter if, I didn't want to make more money, because I know a lot of people, for some reason, don't want to scale ads. I just said, this is the data and this is what I'm going with. And so that is exactly what I went with. So all I did with this product, when I scaled to 5K a day, was I started with a £50 budget. And then I went to, in 48 hours, I went to 70. I went to £100 in daily budget. I went to £130 in daily budget. And then from there, 20% increase every single day because it was profitable and people wanted to buy it. My funnel was in place. I had a product that people wanted. It had a good price point, and that now enabled me to scale based on my 20% profit margins. Now, the trap that most people are going to fall into, if you decide to do this, is find the shiny winning product, run it for a week, and then simply just dump the product into the trash because you had a few sales. You thought, wow, this is great. You scaled it up, but then the ROAS started to decline and you couldn't keep scaling it. Well, that's fine, because most people just trash it at this point and they move on to the next product. But this is where you come in and where you differentiate yourself to most people. Most people running this strategy are just selling bad quality products. We focus on good quality products as a start, but we also focus on building this into a long-term brand, because with these pump and dumps, you're not going to quit your job. You're not going to make consistent revenue and profit in your bank if you just pump one product and dump it. You won't get good at marketing, and that's the whole point of starting with this desire-based training, and make a good bit of money while doing it. So as soon as you find that winner, you focus on testing new creatives. What else is working for my competitors? Not for that one competitor. Look more broad, look out there, what is actually working, and you make more videos of that, whether it be AI. You order the product to your home, you get UGC creators to make content for that product, you improve the product quality, you buy inventory, you focus on giving the customer a really good experience, giving custom packaging, custom thank you cards, doing a lot of email marketing. This brand that I had 25% returning customers. A lot of people have this thing about clothing being just terrible quality. But the truth about clothing is that you can get very good quality if you work with a good private agent. Now, there are plenty of private agents out there. We just have one specifically that help us with these clothing brands. And so because the product was high quality, the creatives were strong, the profit just kept on coming in every single day. I was able to get to 5K a day, like I said, in just a couple of weeks of just doing this exact same method I'm showing you right now. So stop listening to the gurus who are telling you to do this complicated method, because you're just going to hit a dead end. You're going to hit a wall, and it's going to be very difficult if you want to make money in online business. It depends what your goal is. One of the biggest things as well with this is low quality products. So if you want to learn how to make sure that you don't fall into the trap of chargebacks and clothing refunds and everything like that, then make sure to watch the video that I put in the description that destroys not just clothing stores, but most dropshipping brands out there, because I genuinely want you to succeed with this model.